Hello everyone. In this video, I shall be discussing the first chapter of Hornbill, that is Portrait of a Lady, written by Khushwant Singh. And in this lesson, Khushwant Singh has discussed his relationship with his grandmother. So before starting the discussion on the chapter, I would like to brief about the author, that Khushwant Singh was an author of high repute. He was born on 2nd February 1915 and he died on 20th March 2014, and he was educated at Punjab University and King's College, London. He was awarded with the awards like Padma Bhushan and Padma Vibhushan, and his major works are A Train to Pakistan, A History of Six, A Portrait of Lady. Now, starting about the chapter, in this lesson, Khushwant Singh has very innocently mentioned that he was having a very deep and close-knit relationship with his grandmother, and like a child he was thinking that his grandmother was same as he is knowing for last 20 years. He was seeing her puckered face and silvery locks as she was moving in the house in her white dress and holding a rosary bead in one hand, and the whole time she was praying. And in the drawing room of his house there was a portrait of his grandfather, and his grandfather was looking very old man. So like a child he was thinking that his grandfather was such a man that who could have only lots many grandchildren, and he was not ready to believe that he would have been having some wife or children. And similarly he was having the idea that his grandmother was the same as he was seeing for last 20 years. He was not ready to believe that earlier she used to play games like children. Further, it is mentioned that when they both were living in the village, his grandmother used to wake him up. She was preparing him and she was offering him the breakfast of stale chapatis spread with butter and sugar, and together they both used to go to the village temple, and his school was there. And whenever he was studying at the village school, his grandmother used to read the scriptures inside the temple, and after finishing their task, they both were returning to their home, and they were accompanied by the village dogs. As in the return, she was feeding to the village dogs, and they were fighting and playing, and together they were returning. So they were spending the time. So this was the first phase of their relationship, when they both were living together, and there was a very good bond of understanding and love. And when his father settled in the city, he has called him to live with them, and they both came to the city. Khushwant Singh joined the English school. They were living in the same room, but Khushwant Singh was going to the school in the motor bus, and his grandmother was little bit annoyed because she was not able to help him in learning his lessons, because there was a teaching of English and Western science. And one day Khushwant Singh returned, and he informed that he was giving the lessons of music, and this idea was not giving any pleasure to his grandmother, and she was not showing her disapproval. She remained silent, and her silence meant that she was not liking the idea, because she was a bit orthodox in her ideas about music. She was thinking that it is not meant for gentle folk, it is suited for beggars and warlords. And when Khushwant Singh joined university, he was given the separate room, so they were not meeting regularly, but they were having the same love and bond. And after some years, he decided to go abroad for higher studies, and when he was going abroad, he was thinking that his grandmother would be upset. But he was a bit surprised that when he was going, she was at the station to bid him farewell, but she was not upset anyway, and she was embracing him, and she was just praying that time also. And to his surprise, after 5 years when Khushwant Singh returned, his grandmother was at the station to welcome him, and she was not a bit changed. She was not looking a day more older. And when she was living in the city, she had started a bit change in her routine. She was working on the spinning wheel, and she used to feed sparrows. And in the evening, she has collected the neighborhood women, and she was taking an old drum. It was a dilapidated drum, and she was singing the song which is sung on the occasion of homecoming of the warriors. So this way she celebrated the homecoming of her grandson. and after some time his family members asked her to avoid any sort of stress, and it is very surprising that on that very day she forgot to pray to the God, and she was telling to her family members that it is a very bad thing that in the last chapter of my life I forgot to pray. So she has started praying, and after some time the rosary bead fell from her fingers and her face turned pale, and they realized that she was no more. So this way she parted, and after some mourning they have started the preparation for her cremation, and in the afternoon when they have entered there, then thousands of sparrows were sitting in the veranda and around her dead body, but they were not chirping, and Khushwant Singh's mother realized that she used to feed sparrows, so she must give them something. So she was just picking the bread bits and throwing towards them, but birds were paying no attention and they were sitting silently, and when the dead body was carried away, they have flown away silently, and the next day the sweeper has collected the bread bits and thrown into the dustbin. So this is a lesson which is telling about the very strong relationship of Khushwant Singh with his grandmother. So you have to prepare about the character of the grandmother. She was a religious woman, she was very strict, and she was religious minded. Whole time she was praying and she was loving birds and animals. So this chapter shows that not only humans but birds and animals also want to be attached with the persons whom they love. So this is all about the lesson, the portrait of a lady. I think this will be all about the briefing of the lesson. Thank you. Please like, share and subscribe English Solution channel by C.B.S.E.